Hello. So this video, well done Ben and Joe, you've been immortalised forever. I'm going to talk you through how to do the corner method, whereby we'd 3D print the corner sections, perhaps similar to this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then have laser cut panels for the top and sides and bottom. Obviously laser cutting will save a lot of manufacturing time. I guess the same method I'm applying to making these corner bits, Ben, you could apply to making this. We're going to draw it essentially as a cross section. So we're going to draw this little outline here and then extrude it. Alright, but what's key is the dimensions of all the bits. The other method I'm going to show you in the same kind of plan is this one here for Joe. So he's, again, similar. Rather than corners, he's 3D printing the whole side because he wants this kind of curved effect. Again, we will draw this as a cross section and then extrude it up. Okay, so how we're going to do that? Right. This is my sort of rough layout as we would expect. So I'm sort of going to put my battery side by side with my circuit board. That was video number 1 and 2, how to organise that. It's just rough sizing for now. So we're going to start by creating, we're going to do, I think our first one, we'll pick, where is it, sorry, this method. We'll do the long curvy shape, just because it's a bit simpler. So you're going to create a new part. See, if you are in the middle of editing something like this, you'd need to click return first to get back to the main assemble menu where you can click create. Alright, and I'm going to call this side curved panel. Now the good thing is we only need to make these once. Okay, I'm going to click anywhere to start with, apart from on the work, and then I'm going to start a 2D sketch, and I'm going to start it on the XY plane because that's in the same orientation as my circuit board and my battery. And obviously it depends how you're drawing your object, but you might need to do the same. Right, the way I would do this is as follows. I would simply draw an arc, use the arc tool between two locations, and I know it needs to be big enough to fit my circuit and battery in, and I'm going to click out to the kind of radius I want. So you can type a number if you want. I reckon 80 looks about right. And then I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to, a bit further over here, I'm going to click so you can see the dotted line appearing with here. Alright, so draw another vertical arc. And let's do 80 again. Alright, and what I'm now going to do is get the line tool, and I'm going to join, click and click, click and click. So I just join this up into a loop. I'm going to get dimensions, and I'm going to make that have a thickness of no more than 3. I'm going to do the same at this end. So, dimension, click here, give that a size of 3. Right, very important that you don't need 3D printed parts to be excessively thick. 3mm is more than strong enough. I wouldn't go much smaller. You could probably go down to 2, but it will get quite flexible and flimsy. At 3, it's the right balance of rigidity and not taking forever to print. Okay, so anyway, we look at Joe's. So it's got this, and then we've got these little kind of sticky out bits that are going to support the wooden material here. Right, there's a few more things Joe needs to think about here in developing his design. We're going to have a laser cut panel pressing against this, so we need to be able to make that look flush. So I think the easiest way to do that would be, imagine if we had a 3mm acrylic panel, it would look something like that. I'm just doing this as a simulation. You can imagine that, sorry, let's just show you that whole part. Oh, this isn't moving very well at all. I can't move it. I'm doing well today. But let's just drag it in. As you can see, there we go. That obviously is going to want a nice corner here to intersect with that, so it sits flush. Right. So all you would do, I would get your line tool now, and I would do a line here coming down. And if you're doing acrylic panels, it would need to be 3. If it was a plywood panel, it would need to be 4, because plywood's thicker. But I'm going to go with acrylics. I'm going to type 3. And then I'm going to come out this way, maybe a sensible number, at least 10 I would say. Back down again for 3, and then join back up to our object. Okay, down 3, along 10, down 3, and all the way back. At that point I'm going to get the trim tool and then snip away this little intersection there, so that forms a loop. Right, we're going to do exactly the same at the bottom. So start from the corner, up in a straight line at 3, along 10, up 3 because that's the thickness of the 3D printing, and then join it onto here. Right, click OK, trim that bit, and now we've made our outline. And it really is as simple as that. So all we do now is we finish our sketch. Now, assuming you have joined all these together correctly, it should, when you click extrude, it should automatically select it. If it doesn't, and you get some sort of error or it won't let you select it, it means somewhere you've got a little hole between one of these lines, and you'll need to go back to the sketch over here and edit it. Anyway, if it does extrude, like mine, because I'm a pro, I want you to then drag it up to the height that you think is appropriate. Now, mine's not, it's a bit hard to judge here. I didn't draw it quite on the bottom for some reason. So I'm going to guess at 35 tall. Okay, it doesn't matter because we can change it later. Right, I've made one side panel. I'm going to click return. And now making the other side is dead easy. All we do is we copy and paste it. So I'm going to pick this guy. I'm going to do Control C on the keyboard and Control V. So that's Control C to copy, Control V to paste. I'm going to use my Constrain tool now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mate that face there against this face here. So that will spin it round the correct way, as you can see. Now, before I click apply, I want an offset that's appropriate to space this over here. So I'm going to start guessing at 80. That was actually a pretty good guess. I'm going to leave it at 80. I'm happy with that. Click apply. And I've got 2 more constraints to do. I've still got to do up and down and in and out. Alright, so my next constraint will be a flush. So select flush, and I'm going to make that flush with this. Now I know that doesn't look flush, that's just because my view adjusted, because it's actually moved. But if you look at it here, they are flush from above and from that way. So click apply. And then the next flush you'll need to do will be the tops or the bottoms. So top, flush with that top. There we go, click apply. Now hopefully what you can see is that we've got 2 parts locked together now in 3D space. Alright, good. Okay, what we might want to do is now constrain them to the bottom of our circuit board. So I'm going to click Constrain again, and I'm going to click Flush, and I'm going to click that and the bottom of here. And if you can see what that's done, that's made that at the same level as this, which is great. Excellent. Right, click Apply. There we go. Okay. Right. I'm pretty confident my battery and circuit board are going to fit in there. You can sort of roughly position them by dragging them into place if it makes you feel more confident. I'm just quickly going to get rid of the mates on my speakers over here, like we did in video 2. I've confused things because I've actually got a whole nother assembly here, so just ignore what I'm doing right now. I've got to get rid of that to make it make sense. You won't have to do this, it's just because the model from video number 1 I've actually got saved at the same time because I was being lazy. Right, anyway, so yeah, drag your components to be confident that it's all going to fit in the space. Right, now we're going to make the panels that fill all this in, which is dead easy. So we're going to start with the 2 side panels. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to do another mod. I'm going to double click on here. So I'm working on this, and I'm going to make a sketch on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle in this side panel. I'm not too worried about size. You know, maybe 2.5 by 30 might be a good idea. Finish it, and then what I'm going to do is extrude. So I just finished. Click extrude. Pick that bit as a cut. So this selection and all. So I cut through there and through that side. And return. Now what you'll notice is this part, because it's a copy of it, has just had exactly the same happen to it. The reason I've done that is I'm going to use glue gun to glue the 2 sides to this, and then I'll probably have screws to put the top and bottom on. This gives me a lot more surface area to glue to. Having a hole in here means the glue gun will sort of seep into the hole and it will grip on a lot more area. And also we could kind of put the panel on and put the glue in through the gap as well. So it's going to make my assembly that much easier, and it saves a little bit of plastic, so it'll print quicker. Alright, anyway, on to making the side panels. So click Create, and side panel, and it's saying where do you want to create it? Well, I want to create it on this surface here, so that's where I've clicked, and I also want to then sketch on the same surface, so it'd be there. This bit's dead easy. What you're going to do now is use the project tool, and you are going to project that line, the top, and that line, and the top, and the bottom. Basically what we're projecting is the edges. It's a bit hard to see on the camera of where this panel would slot against. By projecting it, we now have lines we can select and draw over. So if I get the rectangle tool, I can click over here and down in this bottom corner, and because I projected those lines from the model behind, this will be the exact height and width of that gap it's got to fill in. Finish the sketch when you've done the rectangle, extrude 3mm because it's going to be acrylic. Right click, finish edit. There we go. Now if you did your dimensions right, your 3mm panel should fit lovely in there, and if you projected it correctly, it should fill up the gap. Remember from previous, if you watched the video, the other videos, you'll know about these stupid work planes that appear. You can turn them off by going to View, Visibility, and unticking that tick, and then they'll disappear. Okay, right, so to do the other side, it's a copy and paste job. So select that, Control C, Control V. I'm going to put a constraint on it now. So just to show you how to find constraint, go back to Assemble, find Constrain. I'm sorry, I pressed C on the keyboard as a habit. That's the other shortcut you can do. Right, so Constrain, I'm going to click that, and we want to mate that onto this face here. Don't worry if it overlaps, because we're now going to mate that against that gap. And then the last thing to do would be a flush. So I'm going to pick flush the top of this with the top of that. There we go. And you can see the box is starting to come together quite nicely now. Okay, remaining things to do. I think some screw holes would be appropriate, and I'm going to put those in now. I'm only going to put them on the bottom panel though, so I'm going to turn it over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue gun the top panel on permanently and then do the bottom panel. I'm probably not, because this video is already 12 minutes long, I'm probably not going to show you how to make these corner bits separately as per this one, because it's pretty much the same method. Rather than doing the whole side like I did, you just start with a corner and then carve your chunk out there and carve your chunk out there, and then you've just got twice as many panels to project in. Obviously this one only had 2. Alright, so corner people, you should be able to work it out from this technique. Anyway, right, doing the bottom. So turn it over, I'm going to create, I'm going to call it bottom panel. Oh, I've already got one of those, I have to call it bottom panel 2. And it's saying, where do you want to draw it? I want to draw it on the bottom. I want to start my sketch in the same place, on there. And again, this is where project geometry is amazing. Click project geometry and select basically the outside path. Alright, make sure you get all the bits. So that line, and there. And that's all we've got to do. Finish the sketch, extrude, and it's acrylic, so it's 3mm. Click the tick. Alright, good. Return. Just inspect your work. Turn off the annoying work planes, so go to View, here, Visibility. Alright, and just inspect, make sure you've not got any panels sharing the same space, so they all interlock like a jigsaw puzzle like they do. Right, I'm going to put in the screw holes now. I'm just going to have 2 on this design, so what I'm going to do is make this invisible so I can see the bottom easier. I'm going to select that, right click it over here and untick visibility, which has just made it temporarily invisible. I'm now going to add some features onto these side panels. I only need to add it to one, so I'm going to double click on it. Make sure you double click on it so that you're working just on this panel. Start a new sketch on the bottom, and then I'm going to draw myself a 10mm circle, and within it I'm going to draw a 3mm circle, and then I'm going to use this tool, tangent, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click that, which will make those 2 circles touch. Alright, I drew it on the centre line as best I could. If you want to, you can check with dimensions, so from here to the centre is 39.35, and from here to there is the same. Alright, so we know it's dead in the middle. Anyway, when you're happy, finish, and extrude. Now it needs to go the other way. Now what it tends to do is when you flick the other way of the arrow, it tends to revert to cut. You'll need to change it back to join or add material, and I'm only going to go up 10 mil. Alright, because if you think about it, the screw, I'm only screwing the bottom panel on, the screw is only going to come in this far. There's no sense 3D printing that all the way up to there, which will add on maybe another half an hour to an hour of printing time to print this, and it's unnecessary. Okay, so click that, click OK, right click, and then when we're done, click return, and we're done. Now you can spot the obvious mistake that's happened here. Where I copied and pasted this, I got unlucky and I did it the wrong way round. So if yours does that, you might have to delete the panel, choose this, Control C, Control V, and do it again. So basically take that and just put a new, not a new version, but a correctly orientated version in. What I should have done is flush that side with the bottom, because of course it's turning 180 degrees. There we go. Now I've got both the circles on the bottom, and all that's left to do is my... Oh, I'm not doing very well here. Let's just see if this works. I may have picked the wrong panel, so that constrains to that. There we go. Alright, so if you got unlucky and when you copied and pasted yours it was the wrong way around, then just do what I did there, delete it, copy and paste a new one, and use constraints to spin it the correct way around. Alright, I can make my base visible now. Visibility, and just got a few more bits to do. So on my base I'm going to add some holes. There's no sense having to drill them when we can get the laser cut to do it, so I'm going to start my sketch on there, and I'm going to use project geometry. I'm going to hover until I find the hole for the 3mm that I made for the screws, and I'm then going to make them a bit larger. So in the lid we're going to want 4mm. Hopefully there'll be enough room here to countersink the hole as well. Finish the sketch, extrude that bit and that bit, that bit and that bit as a cut. Alright, and now we've got our holes that, remember the holes in the panel should be bigger than the holes in the 3D printed part, because this bit the screw should spin in, the bit behind it the screw should bite and cut its own thread, otherwise it won't grip. So we're done with that, click return, and now it's just a case of making the top and adding speaker holes in. Basically I'll make the top, and in another video I'll show you your options for making the speaker holes, because there's different ways you could mount these. You might want to mount them on the inside, above, on their own 3D printed little gantry, whatever. Alright, so anyway, back to assemble, create a new component, top panel 2, that's what I'm going to call it. Where do you want to draw it? On the top. Where do you want to sketch? So select sketch on the top, and project geometry. So again we're going to project the outline. Make sure you get all the bits. Remember, the key to 3D modelling and extruding is you have to have a continuous loop, as in a closed pathway, or it won't let you extrude. We don't need to project anything else because I don't want screw holes in the top. We're going to glue the top on, so click finish sketch, extrude that 3mm. Right click, finish edit. Okay, now really all you've got left to do is add in your details. So obviously this top panel at the moment looks fine, the speakers are in it, but if we look at it, it's not actually got any holes in it for our speakers to, so I'll just isolate it so you can see. If I right click isolate, you can see there's no holes in it. So we've got to put holes in for our speakers as per the next video I'll do, and holes for the switch. By the way, you can right click undo isolate to get back. You might have to have holes for the stereo jack and the switch here. You may want other features on it as well, extra laser cut decoration. I'll just have a look at Joe's here. So actually his speakers are going on the front panel. He's got whatever this is here, LED. Oh yeah, you've got your LEDs to shine through as well, so don't forget those. But that will give you the basics on how to make the structure. And again, it's pretty much exactly the same for making the corner method. Alright, I hope you've worked that out. Please try yourself. You will learn more if you attempt this on your own. Alright, I can come along and do it for you in like 30 seconds, but the point is you've got to learn the mistakes to learn how to get good at this software. I promise you, it's the way I learned. I wasn't trained, not being big-headed, but I have spent 10 years playing around with it. Alright, I've learned the whole program through trial and error, and you will do the same. It just takes a bit of time. Alright, so there we go. Document whatever you've managed to achieve today, as always, and upload it to OneNote so that we can keep a record of your work. And remember, when you take your screenshots, go to View, turn off those horrible work planes. They're really annoying. And I prefer visual style, shaded with edges, makes your design a bit crisper. Do remember as well, you can start to colour things, so if you knew the colour of it, you could, for instance, pick a panel, go up here, and you've got all sorts of materials to choose from. Right, flaked satin, whatever that is. There we go. Okay, so start colouring your design as well. Make it look like you care about it. Alright, that concludes this video.